Alright, so the full reaction to the Nintendo Direct. I'm still trying to edit that. So I figure, you know what? Stuff's going slow. I'll make this my time to talk about the general Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. And by golly gee, yeah, there was a lot. That was to be expected, just like Nintendo going over stuff with the Switch 2 and all the big games coming out. We know about Mario Kart 9, 10, whatever it was called, until we finally got a title for the game. Now we know about the general stuff with the Switch 2. Plenty of big games coming out, a lot of third parties. There's a lot of stuff coming out of this Direct. Nintendo is definitely trying to like ramp themselves up for a whole new generation. And as far as the Direct goes, unironically, I think it's one of the best ones. It's an S tier. It's definitely an S tier Direct. They started strong with Mario Kart. We got a lot of details on the Switch 2. There was a lot of third-party support right out of the gate, and there was plenty of big first-party surprises here and there, especially towards the end. We'll get into it as we go. I'm not going to go over every single announcement that they showed off, but there was a lot of good. There was a lot of good in the Direct specifically, and there's a lot of good to come out of Switch 2 and all the games coming out. There's one huge caveat, unfortunately, that Nintendo deliberately saved to tell us after the Direct. I'll save that for later. For now, we'll just talk about general stuff for the Direct. I'll go over highlights, stuff that interests me at the very least. And off the bat, dude, oh my god, Mario Kart World. Mario Kart World. Did anyone think about World as a potential subtitle? Especially with the giant scope the game had? Right? I don't know, but yeah, that's video number 1. that's getting a whole video all on its own, for sure. Dude, the scope of the tracks, the whole game is this giant interconnected world. There's gonna be this like massive conjoined world of all the tracks, like the biggest sense of overall connectivity, more than any previous Mario Karts, and plenty of the Mario Karts in the series have this massive sense of connectivity with the tracks. All of them are huge. They're mix and matching retro tracks with nitro tracks, just like they did with the DLC and the Booster Course Pass. There's a lot of retro tracks I did not think they would bring back. Airship Fortress is in there. They're bringing back Moo Moo Meadows, even though it was already in Mario Kart 8. DK Pass is there. I don't know if Koopa Troopa Beach is brand new. I think it's a brand new track. I don't think it's N64. But Shy Guy Bazaar, there's a lot of really cool big tracks. Rosalina's getting her own. There's this big... DK has his own spaceport, and there's like a whole arcade DK section to it. Mario Kart's becoming GTA. I said Mario Kart was Nintendo's equivalent to GTA, and it is because it's so popular, but it's so funny to think about that now there's like this whole knockout mode where you can drive across multiple tracks that are connected to one another in this long stretch of just this massive race. And there's also a free roam mode where you can explore every track because it's all one giant connected sandbox. That's so cool. Dude, and the characters. Okay, I need to stop. Mario Kart World. Dude, tracks, there's like 15 cups we saw. There's at least gonna be 60 tracks. Dude, I gotta stop. I gotta save that for its own video. That's gonna be the first follow-up video, discussion, analysis, theory thing. I'm not waiting 2 months like I did with the previous Mario Kart 9, 10 video. Mario Kart World, phenomenal looking Mario Kart. It was crazy to think how they could potentially follow up after Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, all the characters, the Booster Course Pass, almost 100 tracks. They're just gonna follow up by making pretty much the same size in roster, almost keep up with the amount of tracks. There's gonna be a lot of tracks, and just making a whole exploration element and costumes. Dude, Mario Kart World, phenomenal looking Mario Kart. Somehow it looks way better than 8 Deluxe, even though 8 Deluxe has plenty of content to back it up. But dude, that looks really good. They went over general stuff with the Switch 2 after talking about Mario Kart. The C button, now it's connecting. Nintendo's making their own Discord for the system, which there are people who don't use Discord. They're not people who are terminally online. It makes sense. They really are just copying Discord like one-to-one almost. So honestly, yeah, you could just use Discord. This will give people who don't use Discord a means of a Discord-like, which is really funny. They're attaching this whole camera thing to the Switch 2. I think they're attaching like a microphone too. It's cute. It's funny. I'm fine with it. It's cute. It's fine. we got new directors and people directing the Switch 2. It's not Yoshiaki Koizumi or... There's probably people who worked on Switch 1 that are still working on Switch 2, but most of the big, like, name titles who are directing and co-directing the system, they're brand new. There's also Game Share they're attaching to the system. It's basically DS's download play with added online functionality. If you have a game that's multiplayer, you could connect to other Switches, Switch 1 and Switch 2 systems, and you could play locally, wirelessly, but you can also, it also works with Wi-Fi too. So stuff like Mario Kart or Mario Party, if you don't own the game, as long as the host owns it, I think you could connect. If you have Switch 2 or Game Share, I think it's a Switch 1 feature too, they're gonna add in an update. But that's a really cool feature. Like, there's so many cool features they're adding to this thing. It's not super, super huge, but it is stuff that's gonna make it stand out from Switch 1. But, oh my god. Mouse control is confirmed. Mouse controls are a thing. They are making that a core big thing with Switch 1 games. Games we already have, but also new games that are coming out for Switch 2. But, if we're talking things that'll separate Switch 2 from Switch 1, there was a lot of rumors and talk of people expecting Switch 2 to be around the spectrum of PS4 or PS4 Pro. Me, personally, I'm like, alright, I would love if we could get a Nintendo system that is very close to PS5 and Xbox Series, basically a PS4 Pro. I'm not expecting it because Nintendo's been behind the competition for so long in just hardware, specs, strength, performance, all that stuff. Switch 2, undocked, the tablet itself, 1080p screen, above the 720, I think. It was 720. The Switch 1 was 720 with the tablet. Switch 2, 1080p. Docked, though, 4K. We're getting a 4K Nintendo system that supports 120 frames. Literally the last time Nintendo had a system that was pretty much on par with Sony and Microsoft's was the 2000s, the GameCube, the Xbox, and the PS2. 20 years ago. And Nintendo's always lagged behind by at least a generation, and pretty much by the Switch, they lagged behind by 2 generations. So, the idea, the next Nintendo system, with how the Switch performs and runs a decent chunk of its games, we're going up to 4K and 120. Metroid Prime 4 is getting, like, a quality version and a performance version. That's so crazy to me. That is so wild to me. And they also focused on HDR lighting. The PS4 Pro is HDR lighting too, just making games and colors look more vibrant and pop. 256 gigabytes of storage. Knowing Nintendo and how they're pretty much the only major company that really focuses on trying to compress the file sizes for their games, to really make these games really fit on these systems, they kind of had to, because all of their systems always had really low storage space. But assuming they're going to maintain that structure, they're going to still keep trying to make games smaller file sizes. For Switch 2, that's not a bad file size at all. And that's a pretty big jump, given we've always had 32 gigs with Switch 1 and the Wii U. So, I'm not complaining as far as the raw specs, the storage space. 4K 120. Dude, the next 3D Mario, 4K and 120 frames? And that goes into the whole Switch 2 edition things, because Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are getting enhanced performance stuff. I'll get into that in a little bit, but Switch 2, 4K, 120 frames, I am really happy. I was not I wanted it to be PS4 Pro levels. I wasn't expecting it, and I got PS4 Pro level Nintendo system. This is the closest we've had Nintendo close to the competition in a really long time. It's not on par, sure. It is pretty damn close, though. It is pretty damn close. And even when Sony and Microsoft make their next jump to their next console, like, diminishing returns. We've talked about this before. Just consoles making big leaps, but like they feel smaller and smaller because the technology is basically being more and more perfected with each generation. So it's really good. Nintendo is finally catching up. And what else do they have? Red cards, like the new Switch 2 games. They'll be able to like read data faster, which is really cool. You could system transfer, save data, digital games, and other stuff from Switch 1 to Switch 2. The console drops June 5th, and it's priced at $450. $400 was the sweet spot everyone was talking about, but I don't think a lot of people were expecting this thing to be an actual, like, on the same level or close, very, very close to PS4 Pro levels. We were all expecting PS4. So, knowing all that, like, if it's 4K and 120, I think 450 is like the highest they could have gone for pricing their next new Nintendo system. I think that was like the absolute cap. Any higher, there would have been problems. There are problems with some pricing, unfortunately. We'll get to that. But the console itself, 450, it's a little steep for some, sure. I understand. Some might be a little hesitant. At least it's reasonable. That's the main thing. It's at least reasonable with how much stronger this thing is compared to the Switch 1. It at least makes sense. So I'm fine with it being 450. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't think a lot of people are going to complain about the console's price specifically. But Nintendo's also making their own games specific to the Switch 2 to like highlight the features, the mouse support, and the other features the console has. Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. It's this digital-only game you have to pay for, which I don't know if it's really gonna catch on. It seems like it's like a tech demo game. It shows off what the console is about. I think it should have been a pack-in. That seems like a game it should have been a pack-in. I don't know exactly what it's gonna be priced. I don't know. I don't remember if they set the price for the game. It's gonna be a small thing. It's fine. I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it a digital paid game. That definitely seems like the game it should have been a pack-in just to show you what the Switch 2 is all about. And it's at least a game you could get for free with the system. But outside that, though, we finally got to know Switch 2 edition games. It's basically cross-gen, but it's kind of enhanced versions of games. Okay, so Super Mario Party Jamboree is getting a Switch 2 edition. It's getting an extra mode called Jamboree TV. It's like compatible with the Switch 2 features, the mouse support, the Switch 2 camera, the Connect feature with the Nintendo Discord edition type thing, etc. The main Mario Party mode also has functionality with the features, the camera, and you could get like reactions and people in the game at certain points. You get chance time, you can have like face cameras and people just being like, "Oh shit, man, I'm about to get screwed," and stuff like that. I don't think people are really gonna get it for the mode. I think people are just gonna get it for the functionality. I feel like Mario Party makes a lot of sense. That would be one of the games you would want to sell the enhanced Switch 2 edition on. And comes out July 24th. That's fine. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, they're getting Switch 2 editions, and it's pretty much just like enhanced performance, higher resolution, higher frame rate. We saw Korok Forest run at like a stable 60 frames, which is really crazy to think about, because like Breath of the Wild and especially Tears of the Kingdom, phenomenal games. Everyone always talked about their shoddy performances, so I'm really glad we're getting updated versions for those games. There's also this Zelda Notes Switch app thing. It's like connected to Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. I didn't really pay attention too much to it. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is basically getting DLC, Star-Crossed Worlds. Metroid Prime 4 is getting an enhanced Switch 2 edition where it has a quality mode, right? 4K, but it runs at 60 frames per second. But you could also do performance mode, which is 1080 still, but 120 frames. Dude, Metroid Prime 4 basically having options for performance and quality for graphics in a Nintendo, dude, it's a Nintendo game. It's so wild to think about, and I'm glad it was one of the few predictions I got right. Metroid Prime 4. It's basically cross-gen in a way, but like it's also like a way for people to get just like enhanced version. Like it's Nintendo's way of doing cross-gen in a way, but for some games they're just gonna add extra content and features to it that align with what the Switch 2 can do. So it at least makes sense why they're doing it. Metroid Prime 4 is basically like cross-gen. Pokemon Legends ZA 2. I thought they were just going to make it like a Black 2, White 2 scenario. I didn't think they were going to actually update Pokemon, because I figured if you're going to update one Pokemon, you kind of have to do the same for every Pokemon on Switch, because all of them have some weird visual resolution, texture, visual quality, quirk, and especially performance if you're talking Scarlet and Violet. So at least Pokemon Legends ZA is getting updated, and it's going to run better, and it's going to look better on Switch 2. So at least there's that. But you could also get the Switch 2 edition games physically and digitally. You can get an upgrade pack physically and digitally if you own these games on Switch 1. And I think we know of some prices for some of these games, or at least like the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition in Japan. And the pricing kind of alludes to, like, if it's something small like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like a resolution buff or a performance buff, they might be $10 extra. But something like Kirby and the Forgotten Land getting like extra content, I think that and Super Mario Party Jamboree are $20 extra. So we have a general ballpark as far as prices goes, which is, I think, everyone was saying like $10 was like the steep amount. Throughout the direct, I'm like, I feel like this is gonna be $20, and like it's gonna be a case-by-case basis with how much these games are gonna have. Is it just gonna be resolution? Is it just gonna be performance? Or is there gonna be extra content involved? If it's extra content, 20. If it's just performance stuff, $10. I think that's fair. I think that is also kind of a fair, reasonable, justifiable price. If you own these games already, you'll just have to pay $10 to $20 extra. It being free upgrades, definitely a little bit too optimistic in my part, because I was like, oh, it's probably gonna be free. No, it's a little steeper than that, but it makes sense. It's nothing too crazy. It's nothing too crazy, but if we're talking crazy, the only problem, there's only, see, amazing direct, a lot of cool announcements. What in God's name could bring down such an insane momentum swing for Switch 2, right? After the direct, we found out Mario Kart World. It's a big Mario Kart, sure. There's a lot of content, don't get me wrong. Why is the digital version $80? Some retailers are also saying the physical might be $90. The new DK game is $70. That's one thing. There's a lot of people who have a problem with the new Mario Kart being $80 digitally, potentially, but also potentially $90. Dude, damn near $100 for a new, not even a new Mario Kart, but a new Nintendo game. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, man. I think that's kind of a big bullet Nintendo kind of shot themselves in the foot. Listen, Switch 2 is probably gonna sell fine. It's probably gonna sell well. New Mario Kart's definitely gonna sell well. All the stuff the new game's doing, like, all these games are gonna do really well. I think the Switch 2 is ultimately gonna be fine. Don't get me wrong. I think performance-wise, sales-wise, Nintendo's probably gonna be fine. But god damn, dude. We can't pretend that doesn't hurt. That is such a huge, great direct with all these announcements. That's kind of a big pimp slap to the face. They kind of just pulled the rug out from a lot of people who are kind of expecting these games to be like $60, $70. Because, dude, there was a whole... That was my phone. There was a whole thing with Tears of the Kingdom being $70, the only $70 Switch game. And, like, yeah, it made sense. Nintendo's like, oh, we'll make it a case-by-case basis type thing. Because at least Tears of the Kingdom was, like, 3 times bigger than Breath of the Wild. Sure, but... it looks like we're going to be seeing, like, a lot of first-party games on Switch 2 are going to be around $70 to $80. And, like, physical digital games might have different prices, too. Dude, that's unfortunate. That's fucked. That is really, really... That's fucked, dude. Oh, my God. I can't... I'm not ready for when the next Smash Bros. or Mario Kart... Well, Mario Kart's going to be, like, $80, $90, dude. I really hope it's just going to be $80 for both digital and physical. I really hope we're not going to see $90 for physical versions of Mario Kart and other first-party games. That might be a big problem. That, unironically, might be a big problem. Because Nintendo was always the cheaper option to the other companies. This is the price. Sure, you could say that. Like, this is the price we have to pay that Nintendo catches up to the competition finally. Even though they still are weaker than the other two. Just... by a much smaller amount compared to before. But listen, I'm no big Sony head. I'm no big Microsoft head. But I've always seen like passing discussions here or there of like big third-party companies and Sony and Microsoft with their first-party games. Sony, because Microsoft doesn't really have first-party. That like they price these games that like lack content or have these weird or shitty business practices, microtransactions, blah blah blah. Activision, EA, Ubisoft, all these companies. And they price them at like $70. I often hear it's $70. $80 games, I might have heard it once or twice. It's new to me, but I don't think anybody expected Nintendo to be the one to release an $80 game of any kind. Yeah, it makes sense. Mario Kart's the one. It's Mario Kart. It's like the biggest cash cow they have under all the other first parties that are their big cash cows. But that's a really bad precedent Nintendo set. If we're not gonna see big sales for Switch 2, if there's any pushback with the sales, that's why. We know why. That's why. And a lot of people are like, we want the system and the games to have momentum. That's the one thing that's definitely going to impact the momentum. That's really steep. Even for a Mario Kart that's going to have humongous tracks, big modes, and like a big character roster, that's really steep. You're already kind of pushing it with Tears of the Kingdom and Donkey Kong, but now Nintendo might be like arguably the most expensive option just because the games themselves are going to be a lot more expensive. Almost $100 for a Mario Kart. Like, even if it's $80, you factor tax, it might as well be $90. That's crazy. That might be a little crazy. I might make that its own separate video, even though I just went into detail talking about it here. That's not good. I don't think that's a good idea. Nintendo kind of shot themselves in the foot with that. I think that was not a good call, personally speaking. Let me know down below, because at this point, like, you could rip the whole Band-Aid off, because it's like, oh, it's like the whole tariff thing with the U.S. and politics and Trump and all that. But like, it's expensive in Europe and Japan too. It's not just the U.S. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. That's unfortunate. At least as far as games go, Nintendo also has a new IP with Drag X Drive. It's probably going to be called Drag Drive. It looks like Basketball Rocket League. And it's like one of their new games that's going to focus on mouse support with the Joy-Con 2. It could be a cool thing. It's at least something new for Nintendo, a new IP of some sort. Unless I misread wrong and it's like a third party. I think it's new. I'm pretty sure it's a new thing from Nintendo. Coming in summer, which is really cool. And, dude, there's so... I should have saved the pricing thing, because like now that's in our heads now. It's like, damn. I really hope there's not going to be that many games that are going to be priced that high. But like, okay, let's focus back on the games. Third-party support. That's the other thing that feels really good about this console. Nintendo did not shy away from showing a lot of third parties from this Direct. And a lot of the third parties, they're just going to be out on launch day. And it's a lot of the big ones on the other, like, more powerful systems. Elder Rings coming to Switch 2. Hades 2. Street Fighter 6. Split Fiction, freaking EA Sports, obviously, they always have their own thing, but Hogwarts Legacy's coming, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Bravely Default is getting a game, Yakuza 0, Deltarune's coming to Switch 2, plus Chapters 3 and 4, which are brand new, Civilization 7, Borderlands 4, WWE's getting their own thing, and they had a second section near the end of the Direct with like a sizzle reel showing off multiple third-party games, but also giving some of them their own slower spotlights, like Final Fantasy VII Remake's coming to the thing, amazing, Cyberpunk, amazing, Silk Song, amazing, Puyo Puyo 2, personally, let's go, Witchbrook, Fortnite's coming at launch, Professor Layton's coming to the thing, but From Software is also making like their own game for Switch 2, Duskbloods. Some Bloodborne fans are like making a lot of comparisons between the two, like, there's a lot of third-party support for this thing, which is extremely good. Out of the gate when this system drops, we're getting a lot of different games. Even just on a third-party spectrum. Just out and ready for Switch 2. There's a lot of reasons to pick up this game, and the games are definitely no slouch in that department. Already, like, just the number of games and the third-party support, already a stronger launch than Switch 1. Already. Like, thank God. Because that was the one thing with Switch 1. Switch 1 has a lot of third-party support, but it kind of took a lot of the companies, not just fans, but the companies themselves to get their games on Switch 1. It took like time, and we gradually got more and more of them over a period, but off the bat, we're getting a lot of the big companies already on board with Switch 2, and they're giving us a lot of their heaviest hitters. Street Fighter 6, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Cyberpunk, Borderlands, Civilization, Deltarune, well, Deltarune's not really like graphics intensive, but at least a lot of those games are on modern hardware, so it's nice to finally see a lot of those modern games are coming onto a Nintendo system. Dude, I have not seen Daemon X Machina in years. Since, like, what was it, like the second or third year when that game was brand new on Switch, but they kept, like, pushing that game back further and further out. One of the new third parties, I think it's Switch 2 exclusive. There's gonna be some new, it's Project 007. If it's a new GoldenEye, dude, I'm hyped. I grew up with GoldenEye 007 in 64 with my sister back in the day. So if we get like a sequel or even a remake, but a sequel, oh, I'm there day one. That was one of the third parties that I'm like, all right, that's sick. I'm on board. I'm really glad we're getting more 007 Because, dude, GoldenEye slap. GoldenEye slap, man. You didn't play the original? Hop on Golden Gun game. That shit is really funny. I love Golden Gun game. And I don't know why. I don't understand Koei Tecmo, I guess. For whatever reason, I thought they were done with Hyrule Warriors. I thought we were, outside of the Switch 2 editions of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, I thought they weren't going to really expand upon the Breath of the Wild timeline or world. We're getting a third Hyrule Warriors game, Age of Imprisonment, and it's this like prologue game where you play as Zelda and some of the characters from Tears of the Kingdom. It comes out in the winter too. That's another thing about this Direct. As we expected, there's going to be a lot of games stretched out for like the whole year, but we got a Hyrule Warriors game for the winter. We got Mario Kart in June when the system drops. We're getting the big thing at the end in July, even though I already said his name. A lot of third parties sprinkled throughout too. Freaking, they spaced out their games really well. And Hyrule Warriors, it's a welcome surprise. There's a lot of people who like these games. I've heard mixed things about like Age of Calamity and like the story and like how it was marketed, and then they just lied when you bought the game and you beat the game and blah 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 blah. But also like compared to Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition that came out on Wii U and then it came out on Switch and there was all the characters and it was a lot more dense on content. That Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was a smaller thing. Blah 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 blah. People love the game. There's a lot of people who love these Hyrule Warriors games. So it's nice we're getting more, and it's gonna be Switch 2 exclusive, and it's gonna be our holiday game. Or at least late holiday. I don't know if it's gonna be the holiday game. That's the that's the only question, because it just came to my mind too. I thought in the back of my mind, alright, so when's the next Nintendo Direct? When's the next one? Are we gonna get one in June? Or July? I feel like we're probably gonna get another Direct sometime during the summer again. Cause if there's like a big thing. We have plenty of games, it's just the holiday slot Nintendo doesn't have. I don't think Hyrule Warriors is as big to be that holiday thing. It's a Zelda thing, sure, but it's a spin-off, and they don't sell nearly as well as the mainline Zeldas do. So, I don't think Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is going to be that holiday title. Even though it says winter, I think it's going to be December. That October-November game, that's the only mystery. That's an interesting discussion to be had, for sure. Dude, okay. I predicted NSO was gonna get an expanded game coming into its library. I was like, alright, mouse control. Maybe we'll get DS support because everyone's like, oh, precise touch control, blah, blah, blah. We're getting GameCube! We're getting GameCube! We are finally getting GameCube! Oh my god. Nintendo has always been such a stickler with their legacy content. In some libraries, GameCube was the biggest one. They held out on giving us GameCube Virtual Console and Wii U. We didn't get anything about it on Switch. After Nintendo Switch Online, and it had built up the libraries with NES, SNES, N64, GBA, Sega Genesis. Finally, we're getting GameCube. We're getting GameCube games. They are retro enough that they should be on the surface. Everyone wanted legacy content for GameCube games for so long. Now we're getting it. It's gonna drop with Wind Waker, F-Zero GX, and Soul Calibur 2. Interesting discussion, because now this is probably how we're going to get Zelda and Twilight Princess HD, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, because people just wanted the remasters from Wii U over to Switch. We didn't get them. Now we're getting GameCube. We're probably going to get Twilight Princess on here too. So it's unfortunate it's not the remaster, but we're getting these GameCube games properly emulated at 1080p, 60 FPS, etc. And they already confirmed we're also getting Mario Sunshine, Pokemon XD and Coliseum. I'm so glad we're getting those two. We're getting Mario Sunshine, Mario Strikers, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is a big one, Luigi's Mansion. I think Kirby Air Ride was on there too. I don't remember, but GameCube, finally on Switch. Finally, we're getting it as legacy content. And there's so many bangers on GameCube they could put out on NSO. Star Fox Assault, that's a big one. Mario Baseball. I think we have the remake for Thousand Year Door, so I doubt we're going to get Paper Mario, the Thousand Year Door, the original GameCube game, on NSO. Unfortunate, but Luigi's Mansion's on there. We're getting a lot of the good games on there. What else could they put on there? Pikmin 1 and 2, we have the remaster, so probably not those two. People are talking about Melee. Nintendo's been very weird with Smash Bros., especially with its legacy content. We don't have 64 on NSO. So I kind of doubt we're going to get Melee. I don't think we're going to get Melee. If we do get Melee, it's going to be for quite a while. I think it's going to be a hot minute, but Switch 2 is getting GameCube games. NSO is getting GameCube games. I did not catch if it was exclusive to Switch 2. I think it is exclusive to Switch 2. So either way, GameCube fans in the chat, we can rejoice. And that's not the only way we can rejoice, dude. I'm pretty sure they confirmed Kirby Air Ride for NSO, because Sakurai's game he's been working on since he finished Sora back in 2021, it's a new Kirby Air Ride. It's a new Kirby Air Ride. Dude has not worked with Kirby for years. I think literally the last Kirby game he worked on was Air Ride on GameCube. So, I'm gonna come back to Kirby. What's the new one? Let's make another Air Ride. It was a CGI trailer. We don't know much about the game. I don't think we even have a proper release date. It's just coming out this year. Maybe that is the holiday game. Maybe. Is Kirby big enough to be a holiday game? That's the only thing. There's still a lot of mystery and interesting stuff surrounding Switch 2. Don't know if I want to make it its own discussion, but Kirby Air Ride is literally the only Kirby game I've played. That's the only Kirby game I know, and I love that game. So, it's a long, beloved cult classic GameCube title getting a new sequel. That is huge. Huge, huge. Love that. And the big thing, everyone was going in expecting 3D Mario. It wasn't Mario, but it was 3D. Video number 2, by the way. Discussion analysis. It's a new 3D Donkey Kong. New Donkey Kong. Dude, I take back all the shit I gave Nintendo for why in God's name are they still marketing Country Returns HD? Right when we're getting Switch 2, when the game's 2 months old. I take that all back. They keep hamming up that game. We got DK completely redesigned in the Mario movie. His section of Super Nintendo World's opening up really soon. Nintendo was hamming up something for DK. It was a brand new 3D game. It's a whole explorative game. The movement in this game looks really sick. Just how fast DK moves and climbs up rocks and mountains. The way he just smashes and grabs and tosses a lot of enemies and boulders. It's really cool. The animations on him too. Everyone was a little hesitant with them using movie DK, or like, I already forgot the name. I know you guys commented that like there's a specific guy who designed DK like this in the Mario movie and how he designs him now in these games. I'm blanking on the name. I'm sorry, but people were hesitant on this new DK design. Now everyone's sold just because of how insanely expressive he is, how charismatic and cute he looks, and just the new characters, the enemies, the scopes of these worlds. Dude, that's another discussion and analysis right there. Donkey Kong Bananza, phenomenal looking game. Amazing looking 3D platformer. And it's coming out in July. When this system drops, it's coming a month later. I was not expecting that. If there's like a big 3D game, I was expecting that to be like a holiday title. Kirby is like the big one we don't know the date for, but we're getting a new Donkey Kong and it's a new 3D game pretty much a month after the Switch 2 drops. Huge. Huge. DK fans waited 11 years for that. Tropical Freeze, banger game. But god damn, dude, all Nintendo did was re-release DK games on Switch. So, finally, we're getting a new game, and it's a new 3D game. I think literally DK's only 3D game was 64. So, huge, huge, huge movement for our Monkey King. Monkey getting a new game. Let's go. That's our king right there. Finally. Yeah, amazing direct. Dude, I didn't get 3D Mario. I didn't get ARMS 2, I didn't get, obviously, 3D Mario was kind of the big one everyone was expecting going into this direct, and it still made sense. So, it's interesting, we're still waiting on a 3D Mario. We don't know who's behind the DK game too, that's the other thing. We don't know which Nintendo in-house studio's behind it, if it's EPD8, who makes the 3D Marios, or if it's a different studio, or a third party, maybe. I'm pretty sure it's in-house Nintendo. And it is going to be interesting when they eventually give us a 3D Mario of some sort. Yeah, oh yeah, the console's going on pre-order next week, April 9th. Like I predicted. I got a couple predictions. I got me my DK game. I'm shocked, man. I'm shocked I got me my DK game. That was one of my predictions. New Donkey Kong, that was one of them. Third parties, sure. I didn't get Kid Icarus Uprising. That was the Crackpot prediction. That's fine. I didn't get 3D Mario. I'm shocked about that. It's a matter of time. I'm patient. I'm getting a new Donkey Kong. New Donkey Kong game is a humongous deal all on its own. It still matters a lot. No new Fire Emblem. Fine, don't care. No new ARMS 2. They're making Mario Kart. Metroid Prime 4 is cross-gen. Yeah, I think more than, roughly half, more than half my predictions I got right. S-tier Direct. Amazing Direct. It's just, the pricing on the games is kind of a big problem a lot of people have. I kind of agree. The economy's getting worse. Nintendo's not helping their case with pricing their games that high. Oh, that was insane. It's whatever. All the games they showed off here, bangers, all of them. New Mario Kart looks peak. New Donkey Kong, peak. New Kirby Air Ride on the way. Hell yeah. Super excited about that. New Hyrule Warriors game, huge. Donkey Kong, Mario, Kart, Kirby, and Zelda. Fantastic variety just on the Nintendo side. And so many third parties are already coming to this thing just throughout the first year. And we're getting a new IP with Drag Drive. So many third parties again coming to the thing. A lot of them at launch too. We're eating good. We're eating really good. As far as the Direct itself goes, as far as the overview for the console itself, we're eating. We're doing really good. Really happy. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. The games, the Direct itself, the pricing. The console's price is fine. It's just, why do I gotta pay almost $100 for Mario Kart, dude? Look, yeah, Mario Kart 8, you're basically paying $85 because of the DLC. This game's gonna be almost $100 without the DLC, and we know this game's gonna get, dude, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Whatever. Let me know in the comments. Direct was awesome. S tier. I would at least give it like an A or an A+. I think it's an S tier. It was really good. We're getting a new Donkey Kong and a new Mario Kart. That was enough to make me happy. Gamecube on NSO. Huge. Kirby Air Ride 2. Huge. I'm out. I got videos to make. Expect a new Donkey Kong Bananza analysis discussion theory video. Expect a new Mario Kart analysis theory discussion video. Mario Kart World. Mario Kart World will be first. Donkey Kong Bananza will be second. I might make a video talking about the prices and its own thing just to give it its own focus. It warrants a discussion. It's going to be its own video. Maybe a Kirby Air Ride 2 video. Maybe. Don't know. Mario Kart World, I also plan to do character predictions. The character roster is so funny. It's so funny. Why the fuck can I play as Moo Moo? I can play as the cow from Moo Moo Meadows. That is so peak. This Mario Kart's scraping the bottom of the barrel with its characters in the best way possible. And I'm so glad it's doing that. Alright, I'll go. I gotta go. I'm gonna go on for hours if I don't stop right now. Guys, stay hard. Stay strong. Stay super.
Yo, hey, 妹妹，嘿，我来呀！共和大哈哈呀！拉面，嘿，来面，来个面，共和再见呀！哈哈，拉面，烫手面，谢谢。